Guys, I promised to do this video a while ago after I aired a Violet Fragrances video back in October of last year. I meant to do a Violet Leaves Fragrances video, so I'm finally getting around to doing that today. And we're going to talk about violet leaves and how they're different from the violet flower, and to do a list of violet fragrances. If you're curious to learn about violet leaves in fragrances, then please stay tuned. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is Sebastian. Yes, today we're talking about violet leaves. For me personally, I feel like violet the flowers goes into more of a feminine fragrance direction. Violet leaves, on the other hand, goes into more of a masculine direction for fragrances. And you'll notice here in this video, a lot of the fragrances are targeted to men that feature violet leaves. So we're going to talk about these violet leaves fragrances today. And I feel like for me, the violet leaves themselves are ozonic, watery. You'll definitely notice a very crisp, wet kind of a feel when you wear a lot of violet leaves focused fragrances. But on the other hand, with the violets themselves, they go powdery and a little makeup-y kind of, almost a combination of like lipstick and I guess lipstick is one kind of a makeup-y kind of effect sometimes violet the flowers takes on, but for me it's almost like a combo of roses and iris together to create a violet-like smell. But those are somewhat differences for me when I'm smelling violets in fragrances, and also the difference between violets and violet leaves. And I got one announcement to let you know before I head to the list. If you guys are in Paris, France, I'm going to be there the week of the 16th, and I'm going to do a meet and greet at GEOFFREY, the store that I talk about a lot. So if you guys are in Paris that week, it's Thursday the 16th, 2 to 7. I'll be there doing a meet and greet and also showing you guys some of my favorite fragrances at GEOFFREY in Paris. So if you guys are there, you live there or visiting, come by and let's meet and discuss some fragrances. Alright, so let's get started with the fragrances. I'm going to start off with the first one that I think everybody knows for violet leaves, DIOR Fahrenheit and EDT, and I'm actually highlighting both Fahrenheit and EDT and EDP. For me, I feel like these fragrances definitely focus on the violet leaves. There's maybe some traces of the flower in there, but more for the ozonic touches. The original EDT from the late 80s, to me it still smells good in here. It's not as intense and robust as it was way back when it was first launched. And it's a leather, violet leaf, vetiver, nutmeg, lavender, cedar, musk, amber, patchouli combo. And then with the parfum, whereas the EDT goes into a masculine direction, I feel like the parfum goes into a unisex direction with vanilla, of course the violet leaves, and suede leather, rum, licorice, and mandarin orange. I think they're still pretty solid, although those of you that wore the original will definitely notice how thin it is. The Fahrenheit parfum, on the other hand, is so gorgeous. It's a beautiful kind of gourmand take on the Fahrenheit, the original from the 80s, the bad boy. So moving on to the house of AMOUAGE, it's Portrayal Man. For me, this one kind of somewhat smells a little bit like Fahrenheit, the original, and it's also kind of very bad boyish, this particular fragrance here. It's definitely very masculine for me. The notes they use, juniper berries, violet leaves, vetiver. There's also a bit of a spicy cumin touch in there, so it's woody for sure, ozonic, and of course aromatic and spicy and sharp. There's a sharpness in there from the juniper berries. But for me, if you want that kind of original reminder of the original DIOR, I'm sorry, what am I saying, DIOR Fahrenheit EDT, try Portrayal Man. It's definitely very, very masculine. Then moving on to the house of BRIONI. This is BRIONI EDP. Definitely a violet leaf focused fragrance. It's funny, it's like once you recognize the smell of violet leaves, you'll smell it from one fragrance to the other. There's a very distinct smell. It's the violet flower with a water, like it's like dripped in water or like bathing in water. So you've got this kind of like crispness about it, plus the powderiness of the original flower. There's a very interesting, distinct smell. And when I'm smelling BRIONI EDP, it's reminding me of Portrayal Man. It's reminding me of DIOR Fahrenheit. Very interesting fragrance, but violet, ozonic, accent, ambroxan, pink peppercorn, crisp green apple, musk. They do say violet and ozonic accent. For me, I feel like it's violet leaves. Maybe they have some traces of violets in there, but it's a great classy masculine fragrance. There's definitely that kind of watery feel, but very crisp and a bit fruity. So this is BRIONI EDP. I feel like it's a very classy masculine offering if you haven't tried that one. Up next, going to the house of LALIQUE. This is Hommage à l'Homme. This one right here, definitely a violet leaves forward fragrance. And here again, you will definitely notice that signature violet leaves smell. Ozonic, watery, crisp, a bit fruity, definitely prominent here. But in addition to the violet leaves, they have violets here, some saffron, oud, labdanum, black pepper tonka. I feel like also black pepper really, you know, melts or melds together perfectly with the violet leaves notes. For some reason it needs a little spice and a kick, and I feel like you'll notice a lot of black pepper with violet leaves, and definitely prominent here. But there's that leathery touches here for sure, and of course some oudy, ambery touches as well. So Hommage à la Homme from LALIQUE, that's a pretty inexpensive fragrance to get. So this next fragrance is definitely a violet leaves bomb along with Galbanum, very classic late 70s release. Great flannel from BEENE, such a great fragrance. Really absolutely love this one. Really love its greenness. It's very old school though. If you're into modern fragrances and not really into the old school fragrances, you're not going to be into this one. But this is a great cheapy, inexpensive fragrance to have. You can get it for like 12 bucks for 100 ml. And I think it still smells great to this day. It's Oakmoss, Galbanum, violet leaves, Vetiver, iris, neroli, petitgrain, cedar, tonka, geranium. It's a very green fragrance for sure. Petitgrain and neroli in there, the citrus, you know, leaves and the flowers and things like that. Of course, woods. Wonderful fragrance. Great classic. This is great flannel. A great release from BEENE that you can still buy. Next, going to the house of NISHANE. This is Ege, this one right here. And this one, you know, this one to me kind of went marine for me, but it's not marine anymore. I don't know, when I first smelled it, I wasn't really into it for some reason because it reminded me of something marine and fishy. But later I really focused on trying to, you know, make the violet leaves note stand out, and it's definitely standing out for me now. I really enjoy it, and I feel like it's a very crisp, fresh, minty kind of aromatic, aquatic fragrance. I don't get the marine notes much now, but I feel like there's definitely like a cucumbery touch in here, so it created a bit of a marine thing in there for some reason. But if you like the idea of very crisp, cooling, fresh, you know, aromatic, herbal, ozonic fragrance, definitely try NISHANE's Ege. I think it'll satisfy you. And then moving on to the house of 8 and Bob, this is Cap d'Antibes, this one right here. Really wonderful, spicy kind of aromatic fragrance taking into, you know, with the violet leaves note, I should say. I was going to say it's a violet leaves note going into the kind of a spicy direction. With this one, there's lots of cinnamon, which adds a kind of a warmth to the fragrance, but most of the fragrance for me, it's very fresh and not necessarily very warm notes, except for the vanilla that's in here to create some sweetness, and of course the cinnamon, but it's all very aromatic, spicy, ozonic, and herbal. So that is Cap d'Antibes from the house of 8 and Bob. Check that out. I think you're going to be happy with that one. And then moving on to the house of Bentley, this is for men Azure, this one right here. I think that violet leaves and fragrances are really going to take you into a fresh, crisp direction, as I was saying. And here, it's definitely that kind of a fragrance. It's a full-on in-your-face violet leaves note with pineapple, there's tea, there's tangerine, bergamot, cashmere wood, tonka beans, and clary sage. So once again, we've got very fresh fragrance with violet leaves. Of course, there's a bit of fruitiness in here from the pineapple. And then there's tea here for that kind of calming and cozy effect. An overdose of citruses with musky notes and, of course, aromatics. A great scent, Bentley for Men, Azure. If you guys haven't tried it, try that. This next fragrance, I don't really have my bottle on hand. I can't find it. I don't know what happened to it. And I recently had purchased it maybe like a year and a half ago, and I featured it in a video. It's a Nathalie Lorson created fragrance, and I featured it in that video for Nathalie Lorson fragrances. Paul Smith Men is a great fragrance in a green bottle, and it's all violet leaves. And it's very fresh, and it smells like kind of fresh mowed lawn, cut grass kind of thing, because it has a very green, you know, touch to it. So it's violet leaves with basil, there's bergamot, there's orange, lavender, vetiver, musk, very fresh, refreshing, and I wore so much of it, I had bought that in the summertime. I think in 2000 or 2001 for the first time, and I wore it to death, really loved that stuff. And it still smells pretty good, but, you know, of course, very light, and I think it makes a great summer scent. So if you don't know that one, it's another cheapie that I think definitely worth it. And then moving on to, where is it? This one from the house of Creed. It's Green Irish Tweed, this one right here. And this is a fairly popular fragrance from Creed. Of course, it's violet leaves and a very prominent violet leaves note here. So it's very ozonic and crisp and a bit fruity, but also lots of lemons here. There's lemon verbena, ambergris, sandalwood, iris. There's a bit of a marine thing happening here with the ambergris, maybe just to give it like a marine edge to the fragrance, because it's all very watery. So it does have that kind of watery effect, maybe a little bit of swimming in the sea, but it's not very marine to me. And then of course There's some powdery touches from iris, and of course sandalwood in the base for the woodiness, the creaminess. So a classy fragrance. It's a little overpriced, I think, but Creed is a green Irish tweed is definitely a great fragrance you should check out. This next fragrance also, I feel like you guys need to rush out and get a bottle because I think they're going to be starting to disappear. It's Narciso Rodriguez for him. I find this to be a masterpiece created by Francis Kurkdjian in the early 2000s, and I really love this one with violet leaves, musk, patchouli, and amber. Definitely ozonic, definitely very, very musky. A lot of people say like it's like wet pavement or wet concrete or like after the rain or something like that. There's definitely those kind of touches here, but for me it's like a very unique take on a fougere, which I think the smell is amazing. I really love this, and I think once again Francis Kurkdjian created one of the best fragrances for men ever, I think. But yeah, I've been noticing that there's not a lot of bottles out there. I better buy a bottle, backup bottle of this one because I really love it, and it definitely deserves to be on this list. So it's Narciso Rodriguez for him, the original, not the Blue Noir series, by the way. So up next, going to the house of Marc-Antoine Barrois. It's B683 extract. I'm going with the extract, but the original B683 is also could be featured here, and I feel like Ganymede can be featured here as well because I think they all share the similar DNA. But for me, this is very violet leaf forward. You can totally smell it, and it has also saffroline, oud, apples, sandalwood, cumin, patchouli. It's very, very beastly, by the way, and it's a bit animalic too, and I like that about it because there's this kind of like contradictory notes here. The fresh, crisp, lightly fruity violet leaves, watery note with kind of very dense and intense kind of robust note. Probably it's overdosed with the violet leaves and minute amounts of the other stuff, and I feel like it's balancing out the fragrance, but I really love the extract version of this one for a great violet leaves note. So it's B683 extract from the house of Marc-Antoine Barrois. And then going to the house of Ralph Lauren, this is Polo Cologne Intense, this one right here. Once again, it uses violet leaves, and the violet leaves in this one are really, really wonderful. They are kind of creating a very fresh experience for the wearer, and I feel like it's so different than the original Polo Green or Polo for Men from Ralph Lauren. This is very, very modern, and it's a great fragrance to wear in the summertime, I feel like, with clary sage, violet leaves, grapefruit, ambroxan, patchouli, and mint. Very aromatic, very fresh, musky, and of course ozonic. So this is Cologne Intense from the house of Ralph Lauren. Now going to the house of By Kilian, this is Roses on Ice. This one, you can totally smell violet leaves in here. And they mentioned cucumbers, so I feel like it's cucumbers, violet leaves together, and I feel like it's definitely prominent in here. They must be using it, so I'm featuring it here. So it's cucumbers, juniper berries, lime, rose, musk, and sandalwood, and a really fresh kind of a, what do you call it, Hendrix and gin tonic kind of a fragrance, you know, style or wear or experience. So Roses on Ice from the house of By Kilian. And then the last fragrance, no, I've got one bonus and two bonuses here. This is not the last fragrance. I'm going to the house of Burberry, and this is Touch, Burberry Touch for Men. Another fresh one for the men. It's a very unique smell from Burberry, and I remember wearing this in the early 2000s, and I forgot about it, and one of my subscribers sent me a bottle. He said he really likes it, and he said I should wear it as well. So I'm featuring it here because it is all about violet leaves. It's crisp, it's fresh, a bit fruity and watery with white musk, pepper, artemisia, tonka, vetiver, cedar, nutmeg, mandarin. Lots of stuff going on in here, but in the end, I feel like it's a great classy men's fragrance. You can wear overdosed in the summertime and just wear it every day as a signature scent. So this is Burberry Touch from the house of Burberry. And then the last fragrance I'm talking to you about is Bon Parfumeurs 003, and this one features Yuzu, Vetiver, and of course violet leaves. It's so fresh, so green, so crisp, and so fruity, because the violet leaves for me creates a bit of like an apple crispness in this one, and I really love it. And this one I think you can wear totally liberally in the summertime and it won't overwhelm because it's just an overdose of green freshness. So that is Bon Parfumeur 003, and that's the last fragrance I'm talking about today. Anyway guys, thanks so much for watching today's video. Do let me know what your thoughts are on violet leaves. Do you prefer violet leaves or do you prefer violets in fragrances, or maybe you enjoy both? Let me know, put some comments down. What are your thoughts on the fragrances I featured today? And then also let me know other violet leaves fragrances that you are enjoying that I have not discussed here today in this video. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Please like this video, please share it, follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye. And then the bonus fragrance I'm talking about today is For Men Silver Lake from the house of Bentley. This one does feature violet leaves, but there's a lot of things happening that's a little more prominent here. Lemon, mint, amber wood, there's violet leaves, lavender, white musk. In the end, it's very sharp, it's crystal clear and metallic because it's Silver Lake, but it's once again very, very fresh and watery and ambery, woody, and herbal aromatic. So that is For Men Silver Lake from the house of Bentley. And that's the last fragrance, or the bonus fragrance for you guys. Stay tuned for another video tomorrow. Have a good one. Bye-bye.